Hi, it's Maria from Still Dreaming Homestead. Glad to be back with you. Um, we have been having wildlife on the homestead. Part of it's been pretty scary. So I want to tell you what we've been having. We've been having coyotes. I thought they were just across our fence in the next field. They've been really doing a lot of yipping at night, and so I've been careful not to let the dogs out in the evening, with like if I'm locking up the chickens a little late. In fact, I haven't been going out very late to lock up the chickens because I think coyotes are potentially dangerous. Well, the other day someone stopped by our house and they saw a coyote right in our backyard. It was probably 15 feet from our porch. That's way too close. Not exactly sure how they got across, but somehow they did. And later that evening, I went to bed, and about 4 o'clock in the morning, the dogs just began pacing and pacing. Now, if you've seen my videos, you know I have 2 large dogs that make a lot of noise when they're pacing. So they'd been pacing and going crazy, and I thought, oh, they got to go to the bathroom. I don't want to let them out at night. But after about 20 minutes of it, I decided that, I had to let them out. I didn't want them to mess in the house. I didn't really hear what they heard. So I let them out and they went tearing out. And I said a little prayer because my biggest concern was that they might cross the road. They've done that before to go take a swim in the river. And I don't want them anywhere near that road. A log truck took out one of my cats this year, and it was terrible. So I said a quick prayer that the Lord would just keep them safe, keep them off the road. And then I came in a little while, I heard the coyotes. It sounded like there were a lot of them. And it sounded like they were in the far field. So I went running out on my front porch, yelling for the dogs to come. And Ruby came right away, my German Shepherd. She came tearing like she was on fire. She was scared of something. But Coco did not come. So I kept hollering and hollering out the front, and I thought, oh, maybe she can't hear me. The coyotes were going crazy, she was going crazy, and they both sounded like they were in the same location, same area. So I ran to the back porch and began hollering for her again, and the coyotes were still going crazy, and she was, and I came inside because I felt like needed to get a gun and shoot off a gun. Maybe that would scare the coyotes away. But by the time I headed back out, the coyotes had stopped. I was hoping that wasn't because they had killed my dog. So I yelled out again, and there came Coco. She was okay. And it's a real danger when you have a dog and there's coyotes. What they can do is they'll send out one, and that one will lead your dog someplace. And then the rest of them will surround them and kill the dog. That would have been my fault. I should have been thinking more clearly. Although I don't think the best at 4 o'clock in the morning when I just woke up. But I would have been 100% my fault. My dogs haven't had an accident in the house in years and years. I don't know why I let that worry me so much. Well, the next day, we had more wildlife going. I went out early in the morning. Well, not that early, but in the morning to let out the chickens. And as soon as I let them out and they began running, I heard the scream of the hawk. And I looked up to see where the hawk was because I've hawks have taken out a lot of my chickens. They're a major predator in our area. And it looked like at least it was a distance, but it just kept doing that hawk scream. You never forget it once you've heard it. So I was hoping that it wasn't going to get closer and try to take, or just take a chicken. Something else that happened a while back, and I couldn't figure it out, but I think maybe now I have. Back in my garden area, I have a fence. And one part of my fence was mysteriously just completely torn out and laying on the ground. I couldn't figure out what on earth would cause that to happen. Well, when I came home, I'd been in town for a little while. When I got home, I saw Jason's friend Gene, and he had a bag of chicken food on his shoulder, packing it out for my chickens, and I really appreciate him packing that. Otherwise, I do it about a gallon or two at a time. And all of a sudden, he stopped, and he was looking, and I said, Gene sees something. And Jason says, well, we had a big 4-point in the backyard a little while ago. And so I stepped out on the back porch, and Gene was headed to the house, and he goes, did you see that? That is a huge 4-point. And about that time, the 4-point walked out where I could see it, following a doe. And he was in no hurry. He just was sniffing her rear is what he was doing, getting up close to her rear end. And just following her. He's in big time rut. And so we watched him, and when he got maybe 30 feet away, Gene began making some noises to see if they would run. Not at all. When they're in rut, they're pretty single-minded. That's another animal that can be dangerous. Especially when they're in rut, with their antlers and their hooves. Their hooves are sharp. Reason I know that, we had a baby deer that we found one time. Its mother had got hit by a car, and its twin, and they were dead. We brought it home. Not really supposed to do that in Oregon, but the poor little thing was just so tiny. And so as it grew up here for a little while, it got really tame, and it loved fruit especially. And one time when I was trying to give it a piece of fruit of some sort, it got its little paw, just ripped my dress just like it was a razor. So I'm a little bit aware of them. But they're very dangerous. The bucks are in rut. They're not friendly at all. So we've had 3 different types of wildlife that I know of on the homestead this week. And I think that the reason that fence was tore down was probably that big old 4-point. That's the only thing I can figure out, that he took out that fence trying to get to a doe. So we've got it put back up, at least fairly good. And we'll see what else we see in the future. So it's Maria from Still Dreaming Homestead. I want to pray blessings on you and yours, in your house, out of your house, in the day and the night. Whatever you do, keep dreaming. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do. And if a bell comes up afterwards and you tap that, you'll get notified every time I put out a new video. All right. Thanks for watching this. And if you want to tell me a story about wildlife at your place, please leave it in the comment. Okay, good night.